Ahead on Black News Tonight, hospitals across the country are now seeing a rise in kids being admitted as the number of COVID cases surpasses record highs. We'll talk with Dr. Barbara Robles-Ramamurthy about the overlooked effects the pandemic is having on our children. Plus, activist and author Hope Giselle and activist and actor Devin Norrell will be joining me as we discuss an epidemic of violence against the trans and gender nonconforming community. And more Jay-Z versus talk out there in the digital streets. We're going to talk about a high-stakes versus battle that Kodak Black tweeted challenging Hove. Black News Tonight starts now. Good evening and thank you for joining me on Black News Tonight. I'm Marc Lamont Hill. We made it through the holidays and into the new year, but the coronavirus continues to produce record-breaking numbers, and now it's causing the Biden administration to react. The president gave an address earlier today, delivering a strong message to the unvaccinated, reassuring the public that the federal government is ready to handle the crisis. He stressed the importance of getting vaccinated in order to help protect against serious illness related to COVID-19.
Omicron is very transmissible variant, but much different than anything we've seen before. But you can protect yourself, and you should protect yourself, quite frankly. Get vaccinated, get boosted. There's plenty of booster shots. Wear a mask while you're in public, because what we know is this: the impact from the rising cases depends on the effect on the person based on whether that person, what their vaccination status is.
President Biden also doubled the U.S. order for Paxlovid, a drug that is said to reduce hospitalizations and severe illness in patients significantly. The president's address coming as the country reports over 1 million new daily COVID cases, the Omicron variant accounting for over 95% of those cases. The numbers coming in Monday from Johns Hopkins University, and health officials believe the surge is due to delayed reporting over the holiday weekend. Over 56 million COVID infections have been reported in the United States since the pandemic began. More than 827,000 deaths have now been confirmed. At last check, around 98,000 Americans are hospitalized with COVID-19. And many of those hospitalizations are children. At least 9 states are reporting record numbers of COVID-related pediatric hospitalizations. Those states include Connecticut, Georgia, Illinois, Kentucky, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Washington, D.C. At last check on Sunday, the 7-day average of pediatric COVID admissions peaked at 1,354 per day. One aspect of the pandemic that's often overlooked is how it's been affecting the mental health of children and teenagers, especially in Black and brown communities. Joining me to make sense of this and to discuss all of the details and some insight into how families during these challenging times are navigating things is my guest. Her name is Barbara Robles-Ramamurthy, and she is a child psychiatrist who has worked in urban clinics as well as being an assistant professor in psychiatry at the University of Texas Health Science Center at San Antonio. Dr. Robles-Ramamurthy, thank you so much for joining me on Black News Tonight. Talk to me about this pandemic. How has it been especially hard on the mental health of Black and brown children?
Well, thank you so much for having me here, Marc. It's an honor to be with you. And, when it comes to mental health, we knew that it was a problem the COVID-19 pandemic began. We did not have adequate service, public health needs of our communities. And so those needs have been met by the pandemic, especially for our communities, Black and brown children and their families. And so recently there was an email to action that was put in place by 3 main organizations: the American Academics, the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry, and the American Children's Association. And they were shining a light on the need for us to step in and read to action. Kids are feeling the toll every home around America. We as adults, we get, caught up in our jobs, how it impacts our day-to-day socialization, but the kids at home, really, they don't have choices right? Times we are telling them what to do. There's been a lot of uncertainty when it to their school status, whether they're going to be virtual, in person, how long that's going to last. All of these uncertainties and the overlay kids being in a position of lack of control is extremely difficult for them throughout the pandemic. And then for our communities of color and indigenous communities, obviously racism and other issues compound that need.
Absolutely. The point you're making are so important, and with so much disruption and illness and death surrounding our young people in Black and brown communities, what can we actively do to protect their mental health and help them build up the tools necessary to fight?
Well, there's a lot we can. When it comes to treatment, we have treatments that work. When it comes to just general, I think that's a tough call. If you to mental health providers, that's definitely your first stop. You want to use of your skills, of your treatment options that you have available. If you don't have access to that, then you want to look around you at your community. You have family educators, school counselors, faith leaders. Who is it around your circle that can support your family, your children's mental health? Simple things we recommend for every single person to always consider, of course, include the things that we all, when it comes to sleep, hydration, nutrition, and just healthy. And of course, during the pandemic, socialization has been difficult, and so we've had to be creative.
All right. Now, on a personal note, you and your family are currently recovering from COVID. What's that journey been like?
Yes, because by sort of a surprise, I guess, not so much given of things right now. It broke our hearts, to say the least. We are recovering. Thankfully, we have had only mild symptoms. So far, everybody is on. So thank you for asking. We're happy we're getting better.
Absolutely. What advice do you have for families and young people who feel frustrated? They feel overwhelmed by a pandemic that has lasted for nearly 2 years. It's shaping or even constraining their social lives. Things like proms and hanging out on weekends and going out with friends. These are all things that are changing and not even available to many of them. Hanging out with family, visiting people during the holidays. You know, some of the things that mark our teenage years and our childhood years are being taken away by COVID, and there's a deep frustration about it. What do you say to those people?
Absolutely. And what my first thing that I always say in these situations is that you have every right to be it. And so I think for us as adults, it's important that we don't minimize feelings for the kids in our homes. These times are extremely difficult for adults, but for kids, for exactly those reasons you're saying, these are milestones that one went through and they are missing out on, and so we don't want to disregard their emotional. And so even a simple I hear you, that's extremely or I'm with you, what can we do about it? How, it's problems like to do about it. How can we create connection with your friends in different ways, even if you can understand right now? So definitely don't minimize their feelings and problem solve with them, support them in how they want to respond to the situation.
Absolutely. Dr. Barbara Robles-Ramos-Murthy, thank you so much for joining me on Black News tonight. Everybody stay with us here because we want you to join the conversation. We want to hear from you. Head over to our BNC Instagram and Twitter pages. Let us know how you feel. Also, visit our website, bnc.tv, and subscribe to our YouTube page to check out clips from the show. Now, when we come back, we will take a look at 2021 and the violent epidemic against the transgender and gender nonconforming community. National organizer and author Hope Giselle joins actor and activist Devin Norell as we examine the causes of growing anti-trans hate and legal discrimination. And we turn a focus to the fight for justice. Stay right.